Howdy, friends, and welcome to the Alt Country Show. I am very excited to have a band that I have been loving so much this year on the show today. The group is Jenny Don't and the Spurs, and on the episode today, I'm joined by Jenny Don't, vocalist and guitar player, as well as Kelly Halliburton, the bassist for the group. Their new album, Broken Hearted Blue, is out now on Fluff and Gravy Records. We recorded this episode a couple weeks before its release, and I'm still listening to it on repeat. I mentioned it on the show. It's an album you can listen to again and again from beginning to end. They seamlessly blend punk rock with outlaw country, rock and roll, and a unique visual aesthetic that you won't forget. We talk about all of this and more on today's episode. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Hit us up on social media as well, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, so you can keep up with everything we've got going on. And you can check us out on our website as well at altcountryshow.com. After the show, be sure to get your copy of Broken Hearted Blue and go catch this group on tour. I'm planning to catch them this year, and you should too. Let's get into the conversation. First off, can you all introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Jenny Don't, and this is Kelly Halliburton. Kelly Halliburton plays bass, and I'm the singer, rhythm guitar player for Jenny Don't and the Spurs.
As previously stated, I'm Kelly Halliburton. I'm the bass player in the Spurs.
And can both of you kind of fill me in on, your background with music?
I started playing in a band, in bands as a teenager. I never had any lessons. I grew up in a really small, isolated town on the Oregon coast, and I really didn't have any other, peers to play with. There was no one into the same kind of music that I was into. So I just kind of played in my basement. And then when I got old enough, I, started playing in punk bands and through the late 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. And here I am, well into late middle age, still doing it.
I sang in school. I sang in choir and stuff, but I didn't really get interested in wanting to be in a band probably until I was about 17. And I started seeing bands and I realized I didn't want to just be in the crowd. I wanted to be on stage. And so my first band was a band called Ladies of the Night. I played keyboard, and then I took a couple lessons for guitar, but mostly just self-taught, practicing and, trial by fire. And so I moved to Portland in 2008 from Bellingham, Washington, with the purpose of playing in a band, and ended up meeting Kelly and meeting Sam Henry, who was the previous drummer, and a bunch of like-minded musical people. And same, here I am now later, and we've been doing it since 2010 essentially. Yeah.
Did Jenny Don't form in 2010?
Jenny Don't and the Spurs formed in 2012, but I had a band before the Spurs called Don't, and that started in 2009.
How did the band come together, and have you been playing the same kind of cowpunk music, or how did it start out?
The band before the Spurs was called Don't, and that was more just punk rock stuff. But I had the Spurs songs before we were the Spurs, and I would play them solo sometimes, just on restaurant patios and kicking around. And then Kelly had a band called Problems, and we were dating at the time already, and we both just wanted to be able to play music together outside of our primary projects. And so we decided to start the Spurs.
Awesome. And are you still dating now?
Yeah, we're married now.
Oh, yay. That's exciting.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thanks.
Delayed congratulations.
Yeah. This month will be our 15-year anniversary, or June will be our 15-year anniversary. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing to, make music together and work together and be married.
We're together 24 hours a day, every day, essentially.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've been listening to your upcoming album, Broken Hearted Blue, a lot. I'm a huge fan. I think I just came across you guys on social media one day, and I was kind of drawn in by the sound and the look.
Thanks.
I've seen that you make a lot of your own attire. Can you tell me about your sewing background? That's super cool.
Yeah, I didn't really have a sewing background, and my sister got married what year? 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me to wear like a mustard yellow dress to be a bridesmaid, and which I love that color. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll be able to find something. And then for whatever reason, like nothing. I couldn't find, zero. So I just bought a pattern of like a 60s style shift dress, like something that I thought would be kind of easy. And I sewed it up and I loved it. It was really fun and kind of challenging. And I just kept doing it. I was like, oh, this would be cool to try and make things for the Spurs. And it just slowly kept building. I was cutting out felt appliques and like sewing them on myself. And I was like, oh, I want to make something that looks like a vintage nudie suit kind of style.
Yeah.
And so, just trying to like replicate that. And I just keep going and going. I finally got a chain stitch embroidery machine. And so now I just do all my own embroidery, and like Kelly's suits, I've done the customization for him, and I started adding fringe to suits so I can like deconstruct them and put them back together. And yeah, I did a few classes at the Portland Fashion Institute just to help, learn some tips and tricks. But it's something that I didn't know that I had a passion for until I started really doing it.
Yeah.
And I was already like 25, I think, or something when I first started sewing.
That's so cool. Yeah, your outfits are just really neat. And like, I feel like you could do that professionally. Like, they're so cool. It's like, you don't see a lot of that now, that style.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I just had somebody message me today about that. Like, hey, can you do a suit? And we were talking about how, I was like, I don't even know what we charge, because I've never actually like bought a custom suit just because I know they're expensive. So, I'm like,
right.
Oh, I have to figure that out. And then also trying to figure out how to squeeze it in between like tour times, because we're just on the road so much.
Right. Yeah. You're on a big tour right now, I saw. And I was going to ask this later in the thing, but I'll go to it now. I saw you're going to be playing AmericanaFest. Is that your first time doing that? And are you excited about that?
Yeah, that's going to be great. Every year I've seen they have like excellent lineups, and I've always wanted to be a part of it. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's super fun. I don't know if you've ever been to like South by Southwest in the old days, or CMJ Music Marathon in New York. I used to go when I was younger, and just like running from venue to venue to venue to catch your favorite artists. It's super fun.
You played South by Southwest a few times, right?
Yeah, I've done South by. Those are cool festivals. I'm hoping Americana is kind of that vibe. We've never gone before. It should be fun though.
It reminds me of like earlier South by Southwest or CMJ, where it's not quite as like tainted by, the outside like commercialization. There is still a lot of that, but then in a lot of ways it's just really fun. I don't know. I had a blast. Cool. I went for the first time last year, and
cool.
I had a really good time. So go.
Oh, I was just kidding. When he played South by Southwest, one of the times I remember they're like, okay, we're playing at noon here, and then we're like pushing all the drums and amps across the street, and they're like, okay, now we're playing at 3, and then carrying stuff down the street again, and like then you play at 4 here.
Yeah, it's great. Like 7 shows in 2 days.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing it as an artist, because I was going just as a journalist or as a fan, and I would get like, I was so wiped out by the end of it. I can't imagine lugging equipment everywhere. Yes. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm going this year, so I'm going to come see you guys. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. It'll be my first time seeing you live. And I think this new album, Broken Hearted Blue, is going to be so fun to see live. Like, I like dance around to it when I'm listening to it at my house. So I'm really excited for the live performance of it. Yeah. I'm just a big fan. And
thanks.
The album in general, I'm like an albums person. So I thought it was sequenced so well. I'm like, I don't know how much thought you would put into that, but I think Flying High is the perfect opener. Bones in the Sand is the perfect ending. Sidewinder in the middle. Like, I just loved it. So you did the sequencing on that? I don't know. This is like the nerd in me. I'm really big on sequencing, and I thought it was the perfectly sequenced album. Can you tell me a little bit about the process for that?
Yeah, I think a lot of bands don't put enough thought into their sequencing. There's kind of a lot of times I get the impression that they just sort of slap it onto the record in the same order in which they recorded it. And I don't know. I think that there's a real strategy to the placement of songs on a record that I think is, deserves a lot of thought. Yeah,
because we were kind of contemplating between having Bones in the Sand as the opener and maybe Flying High as the closer. But, we're like, what was your reasoning? You're like, Bones in the Sand is a little bit like solemn.
Well, it's kind of a moody song, and it's sort of a tribute to, our late drummer Sam. So we didn't want to start the record off with sort of a gloomy, sad note. We wanted it to just come out of the gates as a, kind of a energetic, upbeat.
Yeah, like setting the tone that it's going to be a fun
it's
album.
like that bam out the gate, and then it just flows really nicely. It's a type of album you can just listen from beginning to end, like over and over.
Awesome.
I love that.
That's,
awesome.
That's
it's a great flow. You just mentioned Sam. I read about Sam. I'm really sorry for the loss of your friend and bandmate. Would you like to talk about that at all, or do you want to maybe give a little tribute to him and tell the fans out there?
Yeah, Sam was wonderful. He loved music. He loved playing. He was really fun to travel with, easygoing, always looking forward to every tour. And, having his diagnosis while we were on tour was really devastating to all of us. You're just like, oh man, like for somebody to get that news that, because he was sick, and it's just pretty crazy to go to the hospital and then come back out and be like, I'm not going to get better. That's something that none of us had ever experienced. So, it was definitely difficult to make the decision to keep playing, but Christopher March is the guitar player. He and Kelly and I got together and we're just like, what do we want to do? And we all kind of agreed that if we had stopped playing, it might be a real disservice to all the time and effort and energy Sam had put into the band as well. And, I don't think he would have wanted us to just disband. So, I'm glad that we kept going, because I feel like we're even like tighter as a group now too, just from going through that together. And then we, found Buddy. And that's another thing, like Sam is irreplaceable. So you don't want somebody that's going to try to be the member that you lost. You want somebody that's going to be able to hold their own place and have their own stuff to offer to the band. And what a task, like joining a band that just went through something like that. I can't.
Task, right.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in his position. But he's done a great job, and he plays similar style, but he has his own flair. So, that's another thing with Broken Hearted Blue. It's our first album with Buddy on drums. And so I feel like it's very cohesive to us, but it's also like a new chapter as a band.
Right. And I think your tribute, Bones in the Sand, is beautiful to do that for Sam. And it's my favorite track on the album.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the writing process for that? Or
yeah, that one, like Kelly was saying, it's moody, and we didn't want something that's just necessarily like this is for Sam. It's just kind of like, I like when people can take their own interpretation of a song without me totally like dictating what it is.
Right.
So there's like, it could mean something else for someone else. And it's like light and dark at the same time. It's like the dark tones, but then Christopher's playing a 12-string guitar on top of it, which like brightens it. So we're kind of saying it feels like it's like you're mourning the loss, but then at the same time, hopeful for the future.
Yeah.
And then, the end, like, yeah. And it's like, at the end, it's like, I've got this fire. And that was kind of all of us. Like, we just are incapable of stopping. Like, we have something that we're like driven, and we have to keep going. And it's almost like something that we don't even have a choice about.
Right. I love that. It's a really great track. I really enjoyed that one. I really love Sidewinder too. I feel like either of those could be like in a film. Like, they just feel very like they're out of a movie or something. Like, I don't know, like a Tarantino film or something. They're really cool. Both two of my favorites.
Yeah, we were kind of going for the whole cinematic spaghetti western thing with, especially with Sidewinder. We're big. Everyone in the band's a big instrumental surf band. So I think on this record we've allowed a little bit more of that influence to creep into the writing. And especially with Sidewinder. We also have another single that's on the way, like a vinyl physical single, not a digital one. And we cover we have another instrumental surf song on that one. So hopefully there'll be even more in the future.
Yeah.
In that vein.
Super cool. Yeah, I love instrumental music. So It was
Yeah,
like
me
a
too.
nice little pop in the middle of the album. I really enjoyed that one a lot. And
Thanks.
also a big fan of Unlucky in Love, one of the singles that's already been released. I
Mhm.
love your voice on that one so much. It's just got like a beautiful flow. The video is super cool. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, that one, so Kelly's always like really encouraging in the writing process. Like I'll have an idea or a melody and kind of play it. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, like, is this not, is this enough? And he's like, yeah, that's great, because I was like kind of inspired by the Lee Hazelwood style of songs, the 70s kind of storytelling or just like
Yes.
provoking a feeling. And so that was kind of what I was going for with that. And the music video, well, he and I, when we were writing it, like together, came up with the dramatic intro and just kind of having it have like a groove for a little bit,
Yeah.
Which I like because our previous albums, a lot of our songs are just like, bam, they start right away and then they end right away. And they're only, 2 minutes long. And this one, we kind of allowed ourselves to let the songs grow and have more space and time. And so that was kind of new, I think, on this album. But the music video is fun because I work at a venue and, we're limited on budget because we do everything ourselves and stuff can just really get expensive. And so we're like, okay, what can we do that won't cost us anything? We're like, let's use the venue space because I have keys and the owners are cool. They're just like, yeah, come in whenever you want. And we're like, okay, maybe we don't have a lot of props or anything. Like, let's just try and make it like as dark as we can, like with a spotlight. And then the guy that was the Omar who filmed it with us, he's like, well, we should maybe have like a couple things. And so we're like looking around the venue and we're like, oh, there's some mannequins for like the venue's merch. So we just put our Western clothes on the mannequins and then used those. And while we were there, we were on stage and everything was like really dark and we had a spotlight and it's like, oh, I think we should have a smoke machine. So I like ran down to our sister venue and they let us use the smoke machine too. And so it just really like tied everything together in a way that I'm so proud of because we didn't think it was going to be able to be as like cool as it came out.
Yeah, it came out super cool. And, I know being an independent artist and it's a lot of money. Like people don't realize how quickly things add up. Even if you're super DIY, like you're making everything, Yeah,
and like stuff like that. It's like, if you make merch and you're pitching out money for records or t-shirts, you can get that back eventually when you sell it. But something like a music video, you pay everything and then you hope people see it, but there's no like return financially with that, So you're like, oh no, like how much, some people are like, oh, videos could cost like $10,000. I was just like, all right, we'll never have a video.
Yeah, we're not that well funded. We don't have a record label behind us that's going to dump a bunch of money into a video.
So I feel like Omar and his crew did such a cool job. When we first saw it, I was just like, wow,
it's so cool.
I feel like it's just like pretty and everything. It's like the blue color. Yeah, it's great.
It's perfect for the song, and then the mannequins add this like weirdness to it. I don't know. It's
totally, yeah. Everyone's like, what? It's like, blue, like David Lynch or something.
yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's like, yeah, it's a super cool video, and you guys did a great job on that. Can you talk about, you mentioned record labels. I think people see like you're signed to Fluff and Gravy. I think people that aren't in the industry are like, oh, they're signed to a label. Like they're, they have all this backing. The label made the video. It's not like that at all.
No. These days it's especially not like that. There's so little money in the music industry in general that labels have a lot less funding and clout than they used to have. That said, Fluff and Gravy is a great independent record label based in Portland, run by some friends of ours, and we have a great personal relationship with them. They're not like some faceless corporate entity or anything like that. And that's how we like to work. We like personal relationships with the people we work with, especially with the release of records and that sort of thing. We've released Broken Hearted Blue on that label, and our previous record, Fire on the Ridge, they were both on that label. But the bulk of our releases have come out on the record label that Jenny and I run out of our house called Doomtown Sounds.
Nice.
The first couple records that we put out and a handful of singles and all that stuff. We do all that in-house and press our own stuff. And that's important to us too. It's besides working with people that we trust and like as people, we also, like to be as hands-on in as many aspects of the band as we can. And that goes as far as releasing our own records, printing our own posters and record covers, driving ourselves, working the merch table ourselves, just every little aspect, helping out with the booking. We have a booking agent, Mary at Atomic Music Group is great. She's a wonderful person, and she's one of her cooler qualities is that she's willing to put up with our hands-on meddling in the booking process, which I know a lot of booking agents don't have the patience for that. They're just kind of like, back off and let me handle it. But
right.
We like to kind of, I don't know, we're really hands-on and very DIY, and that's both out of necessity because, in the beginning, no one would do it for us. So we had to do it ourselves, but also it's because we like it, and it's part of the holistic picture of being in a band. It's the more that it's not just writing the songs and playing the instruments for us. It's everything. It's just the whole bandness.
Yeah. Well, and when we were in Australia, the booking agency that brought us down there for our second tour, because we did the first one with a collaboration of friends and us kind of booking it. But the second time we went down there was with a booking agency, and they're like, okay, do you need a tour driver? We're like, no, we'll do ourselves. And they're like, okay, do you need a tour manager to help? And we're like, no, we got it. And then we did like 20 shows, and we ran into them, and they're like, we've never had a band that's come down here and like did everything themselves. They're like, did you get to the club? And we're like, yeah, we're here. We already sound check. And they're just like, how are you guys doing that all on your own? We're like, no, it's just how we work.
Yeah.
Driving on the wrong side of the road and dodging kangaroos. It gets a little wild.
Right. I love that you
ran
guys
over a python in the jungle in Malaysia.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
It was like this big around, and it was like stretched across the whole highway. Like you couldn't avoid it. It was just like bump, bump.
Yeah, that was on our Southeast Asian tour.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys have been touring all over the world. That's super
There's still some spots that we need to get to.
Yeah, we're trying to get to Japan. We would love to play in China. There was a festival happening in Eswatini, Africa, and we were trying to get on that. They were like, yeah, we'll bring you down, but it was at the end of another tour. So we're like, we didn't have enough money for plane ticket, that kind of thing, because
flights to Africa are really, really expensive.
But we're trying. We're in South America. We're like, we want to go to Argentina, and
that's amazing.
Everywhere.
So when you're touring, do you like make it kind of like vacay too? Like, do you get to check things out, or is it work?
Sometimes, but it's usually we, and this is also kind of financial necessity. We can't really afford to take a lot of time off. The tours, especially the more exotic places, that it costs a lot. There's a lot of overhead, so we try and maximize our time by playing a lot. And sometimes we'll have a day off, and we try and look up interesting sites.
Like in Indonesia, we took a couple of days off, and we went on like a jungle hike and went and saw like the rice fields and a bunch of stuff. But it was like only like 2 days. But for the most part too, like we're so used to having a schedule every day. So when we are like traveling, we kind of like to just have a show at the end of the day, and it gives us somewhere to be. So we'll like cram stuff in during the day on the way. And then we're like, okay, next, let's go.
Yeah. When I travel, I like to just kind of go to shows and go to restaurants and stuff anyway. So that would be, you kind of get a little sense of the culture, and
like
cool.
We get to see, we like see where we're at, like walking around and like cram little things in here and there, and then do like food tours everywhere you go. So that's the best part.
Yeah, we'll go see
museums.
Yeah, sometimes there'll be museums, especially in Europe. There's history everywhere, and it's great to see classic buildings and cathedrals and museums. And I'm kind of war buff, so we always go to World War II sites in Europe that are in, bunkers and stuff. And the rest of the band is really, well, Christopher's into that stuff too. So Jenny and Buddy are always pretty patient with us.
Looking at it, I'm not like a fanatic about it, but
we'll be out in some field and there's a chunk of concrete, and Christopher and I will get really excited about that, and everyone else is kind of like, okay. Cool. Oh, you don't get it. History was made here.
You mentioned touring in Australia and the Kangaroos. I really love their, I'll call it alt country just because that's the name of the show, like scene down there. Like they have a lot of really good music that I'm familiar with. I just went on a deep dive at one point a few years ago and just started listening to all Australian, like alt country Americana or Australicana or whatever it is.
Australicana, that's good.
Australicana. So I like a lot of artists out of there. I really like Caitlin Arnett and the Pony Boys. There's a few artists that I really like out of Australia. Have you seen like that type of scene in any other countries that I should check out?
Oh,
I would say Australia's got, I don't want to, bum anyone else from anywhere else, but I think that Australia's probably has about the most cultural similarities with the U.S.
Like cowpunk.
Yeah, as compared to a lot of other places. So I think the music kind of comes from that maybe. And I don't think there's really anywhere else that we've seen where they can easily identify with what we're doing because they've got a similar culture there. In Europe, a lot of the places we go, people like what we do, but it's kind of like they don't really have, maybe in Scandinavia, I think they're really into the roots and alt country stuff a lot more than a lot of other places. And there's fans everywhere. But as far as just in a real sort of a cultural identification, Australia is probably the biggest.
Yeah, because even some of our like favorite cowpunk bands as well are from Australia.
Yeah.
Like the Johnnies.
Yeah, I know the Johnnies.
Yeah, the Johnnies.
Yeah.
The Johnnies were great. The Beasts of Bourbon, which shared members with the Johnnies. And I've always been a huge fan of a lot of Australian music. They have a great history of good rock and roll and punk rock stuff. The Saints and Radio Birdman. And
AC/DC.
Yeah, AC/DC. Akadaka.
Yeah. They do. They have
Tattoo.
A really good music scene there. And Norway has what they call Nordicana. And it's like, I would say that it's more chill there. It's like a very chill sound. It's not like the upbeat, like rock cowpunk.
Yeah, it is a lot mellower. But Scandinavia is always, there's always been, I don't know what it is, but there's something that's always kind of resonated in Scandinavia.
Like folk.
Folk, but also they were really, really into the whole 50s rock thing, American 50s rock. That was really big. Classic cars. I see more classic American cars in Norway than I do in America.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they all went over there.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes like some of those scenes are a little bit stronger in like the rockabilly vibes more than like the cowpunk kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird for us when other people make those distinctions, because we kind of see all that stuff. That's just all stuff that we like.
Yeah.
We like it all. We don't like to really delineate between these things very much. We like surf. We like rockabilly. We like country. We like punk rock. We like all this stuff. And when we go to a place where they are like, oh no, you can't play here because this is a rockabilly show. And so it's like, what are you talking about? We love rockabilly. But you are not rockabilly. And it's like, okay, sorry. To me, they're all kissing cousins to one another.
They're super tied together. And I think there's a lot of all of those sounds in your music. We're talking about the different scenes. You guys are based in Portland. Can you tell me a little bit about the scene up there? Like, I know a lot of the artists on your label, Fluff and Gravy, are from that area. I'm a fan of Cassie Balaza.
Yeah.
Are your label mates, are you all friends? Do you guys tour together? What's the scene like there?
We haven't really toured together, at least.
We played shows together.
Yeah, like locally. We played with Margot Silker in Seattle. We've played with Cassie in Portland. Yeah, I feel like the music scene, it's great. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to move to Portland in the first place was because of the music scene. And it's right. It feels like a real like collaborative and supportive town. Like it's not super competitive. I mean, maybe people are competing, but you know what I mean? Like people will support you. They're not like, oh, I can't go to that show because blah, 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 or whatever. And like, it's also nice because everyone is kind of like cross genres and nobody cares, you know, like Kelly was like true punk rocker and I got him playing in a cowboy band and people were like, well, that's rad. You know? Yeah,
it's cool. People are pretty open. Yeah, there's cliques like anywhere else, but I think for the most part, it's a very open and collaborative kind of culture, nurturing and supportive in a lot of ways. A lot of venues. We're extremely lucky in Portland to have. I don't even know how many venues are in town, but there's so many places to play, and it fluctuates. There'll be dry periods where everyone shuts down and it is harder to play, but it always springs back up. And currently, and since the end of the pandemic, it's great. There's just the music scene really sprung back. Yeah. And Fluff and Gravy does like a label party show at the end, like a holiday show with all of the bands on the label, but we've never done it because we've always been on tour. Aww. So we're always gone. They're like, we're always invited and like, everyone's going to play. And we're like, oh. Yeah. And I think being on tour a lot gives us an interesting perspective on Portland because when we're on the road, I think we're always a little bit homesick and maybe we would be, I don't know, we'd probably have a different opinion about the Portland music scene if we were just trapped there all the time. But we get out a lot. We spend months and months out of every year on tour, which is probably the best case scenario for us because we're not in town long enough to get sick of it. Yeah. So.
Right. Totally get that. As an outsider, I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've kind of lived multiple places. Now I feel like everything's very accessible. So you get a lot of music. Yeah. But I keep seeing bands out of Portland pop up. Like, I feel like it's the words. No, we've always known Portland has music. You know what I mean? But like, yeah. I feel like a lot of Portland artists are starting to like, you know, play AmericanaFest or like get the words getting out about like the scene there. And I think it's really cool. A lot of my favorite bands. I like Roselip Bone. Yeah. Oh, Roselip Bone's one of our like best, like our buddy bands. We put out a 7-inch with them. They're so label. Cool. That's another band I want to see live so bad. They're awesome. Yeah. And they're just like really fun. Our friend Victor plays guitar in the band and he's just a blast. He's hilarious. Yeah, they're all really cool people and really, they put on a great show and they're a fantastic band. Just really down to earth and cool. I think one thing about Portland too is like the musicianship there sets the bar really high. So if you go to a show and you want to start a band, you're like, oh wow, like all the bands in Portland right now are really good. So I think it like drives people to like want to like be good at their craft because you're like, oh, I'm gonna play with them. Like, okay, I better not, you know, mess around here because this is gonna be a great show. And so I think everyone like encourages each other to like put forth their best effort. Yeah, and at the same time, it doesn't mean that you know people are snobs about it. No, right? Yeah, right. People are supportive regardless of your level of skill at your instrument. There's always room to get better, and I think Portland's pretty supportive in that respect. I'm really digging a lot of the music coming out of there. So yeah, very cool. So you guys are out on tour right now, like literally right now. And yeah, Broken Hearted Blues coming out in 2 weeks. What's on the horizon for you? I know you've got AmericanaFest and a lot of tour dates. Where should people come see you? Do you have any other big festivals? I'm trying to think like, because we go to Europe when we get on this run, we play in Spain for the Hiracasa Fest. We're playing the Roots and Brews Fest, and we're doing some stuff in the Netherlands, in Germany. Then we get, in Belgium. Then we get back. We play some Northwestern, like regional stuff around the Pacific Northwest. And then we head back out. So when we go to AmericanaFest, we're going to tour on the way there and then fly to Europe from Georgia. And we're going to be in Europe for all of October and most of November. We're going to fly back to Georgia and tour back through the South over to the West. So
we'll be on the road, and people will have like lots of opportunities to see us around the US and Scandinavia and Europe.
Yeah, check out our website. All the dates are on the website. I don't know how far out they're being published, but we're booked out till next spring.
Yeah.
Pretty much at this point. We've got we had like 3 trips to Europe on the books, a couple coast to coast US things.
We have a new music video coming out too from the same Omer that did the Unlucky Love video. Also, we have a video for Broken Hearted Blue. So that will come out, I think, the day before the actual album release. And we went to Pendleton, Oregon for that they have the Pendleton Roundup rodeo grounds, and they let us use the space in there and filmed our video there, which is really fun. We have a guest appearance on that of Kelly and I's sulcata tortoise. We have like a 70-pound tortoise that we brought with us, and he's in the video. And so that should be really fun. I'm excited to see that.
Where does the tortoise go when you're traveling?
He lives at our house. He lives in the backyard at our house.
He's got a little house. He's a free range tortoise. He lives in the yard and eats grass, and he's got a little house there with a heater on a timer and a heat lamp.
He's living his best life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stays warmer than we do.
Yeah, right.
Crafty old house.
Yeah, he's spoiled, but we always have a house sitter too because we have 2 cats that we love and miss.
I have 4 cats. And I have them shut out of the door the whole time they've been trying to get in. They're
putting their paws under the door.
Yes, there's literally a paw coming through when you said that. Yeah. I didn't intend to have 4 cats. They just keep showing up, and I can't say no.
That's great.
I have a problem. But so that's super cool. Yeah, we have a lot of listeners in Europe. So I really want to encourage our listeners to check out your tour dates on the website. I'm really excited to see you live. I know they'll be excited. And like I said, this is a really great album. Like, it's like a beginning to end album. I hope everybody checks it out. I saw you have vinyls up on Bandcamp. I always encourage listeners to support artists by buying music, buying merch, getting out to shows. So I really want everyone to do that. I've seen you've been active on TikTok and Instagram. Is that a good place to come find you? Are those the 2 main social media?
Yeah, Instagram, definitely. I try to be active on TikTok. I'm not as active as I should be probably, but Instagram is like the main one. And then I occasionally try to remember to post stuff on X. And, there's like so many. I feel like, I know, Twitter. And then even that one, like, I am always like, I haven't posted anything for a long time there. So I'll like toss something up there. But the most current and up-to-date stuff is, Instagram would be the one.
Okay. You guys are too busy to do social media. Gosh,
yeah, it's hard. And there's so many outlets, so, and then I feel like I'm just posting the same thing on every single one. So it's like, how do you make yourself interesting the same thing, like 5 different ways?
Right. It's kind of nuts. Yeah. It's so great to have social media. It really is for music. But then at the same time, it's like a pain. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not totally like a content creator, but I do like to try to keep people updated on like what we're doing.
Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to mention about the album, or?
I think we pretty much covered it. I always like to try to make sure that we mention the whole band, which I think we did. Yes. But yeah, Christopher March plays guitar. He's been with us now for almost 8 years. Buddy Weeks is our drummer now. He's been with us now for a little over a year. And like we said, Kelly, Halliburton, me. I think that covers everything. Yeah, check out our website.
Yeah, pick up the record, ask for it in your local shop.
Yeah, we've got tons of stuff with us on tour too. We have a pretty extensive merch table with hats and bandanas and t-shirts, and me and Kelly make these like vintage style pennants that we sell, and like, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I'm excited to hit the merch table. So my new thing is, I just started this like a few interviews ago, but at the end of every conversation, I give you a songwriting assignment. And if you want to come back on the show, you have to write a song. So this is my new social media shtick. Okay. Okay. We talked a lot about touring. So your assignment is to write a song about touring. And then the next time you come on the show, you share the song with us.
Okay.
All right.
Deal.
Really enjoyed this conversation with Jenny Don't and Kelly Halliburton. I hope I get to have them back on the show again. That was just a fun idea I came up with because I feel like the first time artists are on the show, it's like I'm introducing them to the audience. They're getting to meet me. I'm getting to know them a little bit. And with a lot of these artists I'm having on, I want to keep having them back so we get to know them more together and we get more in depth. And I don't know. I thought having a little songwriting challenge could be fun. So we'll see how it goes. I've asked 3 artists so far. They all seem on board. Hopefully this actually pans out. As you heard on the show, Jenny Don't is going to be at AmericanaFest this year. I'm going to be there. I'm definitely going to go catch them live. If you're coming to Nashville for the festivities, I highly recommend you do not miss this group. They're currently on tour in Europe with lots more tour dates to come. Follow them on social media and get to that merch table. The best thing you can do to support artists is buy music, buy merch, get out to shows, and then share their music with your friends. Thanks for hanging out with us for the show today, and we'll see you back here next time for the Alt Country Show.